Good day, people of the internet. It's time for the 4th episode of Matt and Matt at the Movies. Your host today, as always, it's me, Matt Parkinson. I'm joined, also as always, by Matt Jarrell.
Good day, people of the internet.
The films we're looking at this week are Mortdecai, The Boy Next Door, and Strange Magic. Somewhat fittingly, given the quality of this week's new releases, our topic of the week is a look back at the worst films of 2014. First up, we've got the Johnny Depp-led Mortdecai. Depp plays an art dealer named Charlie Mortdecai who gets roped into trying to solve a painting theft. Along with his manservant Jock, played by Paul Bettany, he's going to goof his way to try to solve the crime. Supporting cast gives us Gwyneth Paltrow as Joanna, Charlie's wife, and Ewan McGregor as the inspector who also has a little bit of a thing for Joanna. There's a bit of a rivalry there. Directed by David Koepp and based on a series of novels, Mortdecai is an action comedy that really is lacking on both fronts. Gerald, what are your initial thoughts on Mortdecai?
Can we please get Johnny Depp to take a break for, like 5 years maybe, please? Because once again, he proves that he's just not doing well in picking his roles. I mean, he's, as you said, he's playing this goofy English aristocrat. I mean, he's got all this fancy stuff and what have you. And I mean, obviously having Gwyneth Paltrow as your wife is never a bad thing, and Paul Bettany as a manservant. But I don't understand why Johnny Depp thinks this is funny, because it's not.
It's really, really not. I mean, there have been some bad comedies that I've seen in theaters. I'm sure you have as well.
Absolutely.
The theater was dead.
Yeah, I think we had a couple of laughs, which basically it was the only 2 laughs in the movie with Paul Bettany's character having some antics, shall we say. But other than that, yeah, it was not funny. I got more laughs in one of our other films that we're going to talk about later for some reason than in Mortdecai, and that really says something when you're trying to make an actual comedy and you're just not getting laughs.
Yeah, there were 2 running gags that I thought worked, and both of them involved Paul Bettany.
Yep.
And those were the only laughs that Mortdecai had.
Yep. I don't understand. I mean, there's a scene in the trailer involving Johnny Depp slamming a police inspector or something on a table, and that was funny in the trailer. It's not funny in the movie, even.
No. And there's another scene in the trailer that's an alternate take, a cleaner version than the one that's in the movie. But it's a little bit funnier too. I mean,
yeah,
it's weird that an alternate take in a trailer is funnier than an actual movie.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately,
it is.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And then it's frustrating. I mean, Jeff Goldblum is in this movie.
Yeah.
He's completely wasted.
I don't even know why he's here, because I mean he's there for one scene and then he's gone, and I'm like, well, okay, why did you...
That was Jeff Goldblum,
yeah,
right.
Why did you put him in... And he's playing the father to Olivia Munn,
who exists in this movie to be stared at.
Yes.
Like, that's literally her entire character's role.
Exactly. She's the nymphomaniac daughter of Jeff Goldblum's wealthy businessman character. And unfortunately, while she is lovely to look at, her acting is awful.
Oh, she's bad in this.
Why does she keep getting roles? I don't understand it. I mean, I sat through Delivers from Evil last year, where she was Eric Bana's wife, and oh my gosh, she was terrible as this nagging, annoying harpy. And it's just like, can we please stop with Olivia Munn? She's not an actress.
And she's in this, I mean, to be looked at and to be a temptation for Johnny Depp's character, because he and Gwyneth Paltrow are having marital issues, and aren't marital issues always fun in comedies?
Of course, and then
it's
when you throw in Ewan McGregor as he's this sensitive poet who got rejected because Gwyneth Paltrow chose Mortdecai over him, and now he's an inspector who is forced to deal with Mortdecai and yet still allows him to see Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm like, well, no.
There was a dumb subplot, and then there's also the Mortdecais are in crippling debt. It's like £8 million or something like that,
Yep.
and it doesn't really come into anything, except once the mystery is solved, the movie keeps going.
Yeah, this movie is, I mean, it's an hour and 45 minutes, but it really should have been an hour and a half at least. And frankly, if you'd made this down to like an hour-long television episode, it might have been tolerable, but not as an hour and 45-minute long movie.
I don't think Johnny Depp's ever been worse.
One could debate that, but it's certainly among his worst in recent memory. I mean, I would probably still put Alice in Wonderland below this, just because the Mad Hatter is such an awful, awful, awful character, and the fact that he's breakdancing makes me want to break something. So, but yeah, this is not a good role at all, and Johnny Depp, why? You used to be such a good actor.
I don't know if it would have worked with anyone, in all honesty. I mean, the script isn't good, the direction's nothing.
No, it's not.
But Depp just, it's frustrating to watch someone who we know is that talented take on a role like this and completely ruin it.
Yeah, I mean, you remember when he was like Oscar nominated for Pirates of the Caribbean 1 or Sweeney Todd, and yet now here, I mean, he has a recurring gag about how he wants to grow a mustache because all men in his family have grown mustaches, but his wife doesn't like it because when she kisses him, it bothers her. And then, because she starts to gag for that, he's got a sympathetic gag reflex that makes him want to vomit. I'm like...
And that happens several times throughout the movie, and it's not funny a single time.
Nope, not in the least. And yet,
there are recurring gags that keep going and aren't funny. There are scenes that go on for far too long. It's a mess.
It's an absolutely wasted effort from Johnny Depp and Ewan McGregor. And Gwyneth Paltrow and Paul Bettany fare better, but I mean, you're still taking a lot of talented people and just
wasting their time.
They could
have been making better movies.
Absolutely. So, moving on from one waste of talent to another waste of talent, The Boy Next Door. Now, The Boy Next Door features Jennifer Lopez as Claire Peterson, who is a high school literature teacher. And she's in the midst of a divorce to her husband, Garrett, who's played by John Corbett, and she also has a teenage son named Kevin, who's played by Ian Nelson. And so a next-door neighbor's great-nephew named Noah, who's played by Ryan Guzman, moves in next door, and our new neighbor decides to insert himself into the family's lives by seemingly being nice and helpful. And then when Garrett and Kevin go away for the weekend, Noah sees his chance to demonstrate his interest in Claire and seduce her, leading to a tryst between the two of them. Unfortunately, Noah's attention and affection comes with a very high and terrible price. So, Mr. Parkinson, what did you think of this new erotic thriller?
I like how you called it an erotic thriller because it does a disservice to both words.
Indeed it does.
And also air quotes.
Yes, it does.
It's not in the least bit erotic. There are two sex scenes. One is supposed to make you uncomfortable. The other is filmed so poorly that it can't be erotic. And it's not thrilling in the least. There's no suspense. There's no tension. And to me, it came across as a low-rent version of Fear from 1996. And at least that one had Mark Wahlberg and Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I'm could possibly argue that this is Jennifer Lopez's worst performance ever. She's not charismatic at all. I mean, especially in that single sex scene she's in. And I love how one of the trivia things on that is she actually was the one participating. It wasn't a body double. And yet, I don't care. It's not...
You can't even tell.
Yeah, it's not thrilling or arousing in any way, shape, or form. Ryan Guzman as Noah is bland beyond belief. I mean, even when he's trying to be scary and intimidating, he's not. And then what's worse is that he looks like a 30-year-old man, and his character is supposed to be 19.
Oh, and it's bad because they put him beside Ian Nelson for a good chunk of Ian Nelson's screen time. Ian Nelson actually looks like a teenager.
Yeah, and yet Ryan Guzman doesn't.
And then there's this man beside him, and you're like, they're supposed to be around the same age.
Yeah, I'm like, no, not even close. And I mean, John Corbett is just thoroughly dull and generic as it's cheating husband number 5012 in movies. And Ian Nelson, I mean, his character thing is, I have allergies, and so I'm prone to having attacks, and feel sorry for me. No. And why does Kristen Chenoweth show up in this thing as Claire's best friend / vice principal? I mean,
she's like Claire's only friend.
Yeah, like,
I mean, some we're supposed to believe that Jennifer Lopez has one friend in the entire world.
Yeah, I'm like, no. And of all the one friends, it's Kristen Chenoweth. Oh, joy. Why? And, I mean, Rob Cohen's direction of these characters is just so awful. It's painful to watch. And so this was the movie I talked about that got more laughs than Mortdecai. I don't understand how, because there's not a single funny line in this movie.
Oh, but the cookie line was so great.
No. There was actually, I think the only line that really made me even think of laughing was a phone conversation between Chenoweth and Lopez where she's talking about ways to impress a guy, and the last thing she says kind of made me chuckle a little bit. But other than that, and that was just because it was unexpected coming from Kristen Chenoweth. But other than that, I'm sorry, this movie is not... And then you talk about lack of suspense. I'm sorry, even in the moments that are supposed to be tense, like, okay, Kristen Chenoweth is on the phone with Lopez in her house and what have you, and something bad happens. And no, there's no tension to that either. I saw what happened coming. The climax is supposed to be this dramatic thing where there's the barn is on fire, and so they're going to die.
And they're all tied up, and one of them escapes.
I'm sorry, no. I'm not at all worried about these characters surviving.
It was so cliched. I mean, you've seen that scene in dozens of movies.
Exactly, and don't get me started on the heavy-handed inclusion of Greek mythology. Like the number of quotes and references to that.
But dude, you gotta read the Iliad.
Oh yeah. This is the first edition. That's such a thoughtful gift. And Noah thinks of himself as a modern day Achilles. I'm like, no, you're not.
And now there was one scene in the movie where I thought it was almost starting to get good, and it takes place in the principal's office, where Noah threatens Kristen Chenoweth, and yet there was a terrible post-dubbing right before it that ruined the entire scene for me.
That seems ruined for me just by existing, because it's like, oh, look, you're such a tough guy by threatening like 4'11" Kristen Chenoweth. Like,
it made me laugh. But it was the only time when a little bit of suspense almost looked like it was being generated. But they have this terrible post-dubbing involving Chenoweth, and it ruined everything. It took me out of the movie completely.
I don't blame you. I mean, this movie is proof that you can tell that screenwriter Barbara Curry is doing her first screenplay, because it was just bad. Bad.
Moving on to our third movie, and another one that has Kristen Chenoweth in it. She had such a wonderful week. We've got Strange Magic, the under-advertised animated musical. And yes, it is a musical, which, like Into the Woods earlier, I guess late last year, the marketing tried to hide. This one was conceived by George Lucas, of all people, and claims to be a retelling of A Midsummer Night's Dream, which, not really. It's a little difficult to explain because its plot is a mess, but basically it follows a fairy princess named Marianne, voiced by Evan Rachel Wood, and she eventually has to try to save her sister Dawn from an evil bog king, played by Alan Cumming. And along the way there's love potions, there's a sugar plum fairy, which is Kristen Chenoweth, there's a small elf named Sunny, played by Elijah Kelly, and there's lots of singing. The songs are all popular songs from the last decade, because writing original songs is hard. Gerald, our animation expert, what did you think of Strange Magic?
Why? I'll give props to this. I didn't hate the animation as much as I thought I was going to. And I also will give props to Evan Rachel Wood and Alan Cumming in their characters. They do pretty good voice work, and also good singing work, actually. Unfortunately, as you said, the plot is a mess. It decides to borrow, and by borrow I mean rip off and steal, the aesthetic and partial plot of Epic, part of the plot and characterization of Frozen, and part of the plot of Beauty and the Beast. And that's it. I mean, put it this way. When your director pitches your movie as being Beauty and the Beast, where the Beast doesn't change, you're doing it wrong. I mean, part of the reason why Beauty and the Beast works is because, the Beast changes. if you try to do that without change, you have no conflict. The only conflict this movie tries to pull off is the sister Dawn gets hit with a love potion, although followed immediately by putting it into a bag so that she doesn't actually see the first person she looks at immediately. And then she decides to fall in love with the Bog King because of the love potion, which is awkward and annoying to both the Bog King and myself. And then they decide to pull a Frozen by having Marianne go rescue her, except this time it's not the hyperactive wild sister who must go do the saving, it's the reserved and I hate love one because my ex-fiance was a lying, cheating, heartless, bad word.
Person.
Yes. Putting it nicely. Which, speaking of said boyfriend,
he's around for the entire movie.
Yeah, like, what is his purpose exactly, other than to just be an annoying loser? And, I mean, the voice actor Sam Palladio decides to give him a southern twang for some reason. Which is weird, because Sam Palladio is...
Nobody else does.
Well, that and Sam Palladio is British, so I'm like, okay, well, sure. The elf character Sonny is literally one note. He is defined solely because he has an unrequited crush on Dawn, which, of course, they're going to get together by the end, because... Because of course. The romances in this movie are so schizophrenic that it's rather astounding. I mean, it's like they pulled a rubber band, went back and forth. I
felt like that was the whole movie. Like, the characters are so directionless.
Yes, they are. I mean,
they flip flop at any given moment just to fit the individual scene.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, just at the start, okay, you got Marianne who's singing a happy love song about how she's going to get married, and then when she finds out that
5 minutes later,
she finds out 5 minutes later that Roland is cheating on her, and immediately says, "I will never fall in love again." I'm like, well, that was a juxtaposition that had the subtlety of a sledgehammer to the forehead. Thank you.
To me, it really felt like the plot came second to the songs. That the filmmakers figure out which songs they wanted to use and then wrote a plot around them.
And even the songs are mixed. I mean, I did like the song Straight On and then the titular Strange Magic, but that's only because those involve Evan Rachel Wood and Alan Cumming. Unfortunately, these songs that, like Sam Palladio and Meredith Ann Bull, who sing, like Come On Marianne or I Can't Help Myself, are very problematic. And then Christian...
They included that stupid Black Eyed Peas song.
Yes. As soon as I heard I Got a Feeling, I was starting to rage because I did not want to hear that song in this movie. Signature solo song called Love is Strange that, I mean, it's decent and shows off her talents as a singer, but it's still kind of just eh. And then... there's a song sequence about love that are sung by the Dark Forest Goblins that had me flashing back to the song Fixer Upper from Frozen. And then for some reason, the film concludes with a rendition of Wild Thing that's animated like an acid trip.
It really is. It's something to see.
Yeah. Oh, what? I cannot believe I was seeing this. Oh.
Now, I didn't hate Strange Magic as much as you, probably because I found it pretty funny. I found it funnier than Mortdecai, at least.
I don't understand how, because I didn't find anything funny about this movie at all.
It's odd, to say the least, and I don't know, it tried to be funny at times. It somewhat succeeded.
It tried, it just failed badly at that. And then... just the heavy I mean, I think the word love probably appears about 10,000 times in this movie. It's like, we get it. It's about love. Thank you. Move on.
And that was about the only theme that the movie had.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it wastes... like, Alfred Molina is in this as Marianne's dad, and
he wouldn't know it.
Yeah, he's in it for like 2 scenes, and his one characterization is, I want you to fall in love, but you're so independent and different. And I'm like, what is this, 1992? Are we watching Aladdin again? And then Maya Rudolph as the Bog King's mom is playing the stereotype of a nagging Jewish mom.
Despite the Bog King being some Scottish, almost dictator guy.
Yeah. Did somebody not even bother to think up characterization other than the thinnest stereotypes and cliches they could come up with?
I don't think so.
Apparently, I mean, but
it's George Lucas.
This is what very nice. But this is why I hate this movie so much. Is it doesn't try. The songs are barely okay, and I mean, especially when you're making a movie that you're trying to aim to kids, I hate it when they pander. I mean, This is why I like Pixar so much, is that in almost all of their movies, save for one, they don't pander at all. But this Lucasfilm Animation production is the height of pandering. It's a ripoff of several other much better movies. It's just not worth it at all.
None of the movies this week really are.
Unfortunately, not at all.
And that brings us and ties nicely into our topic of the week, which is the worst 20 movies of 2014. We planned this pretty well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We didn't at all. So, last week we tried to save some time by more or less skipping over any sort of depth for our numbers 20 through 11 entries. The podcast turned out a little short. I mean, it was still an hour long, but it was shorter than it could have been, and we didn't get to explore all of the entries we wanted for our best films. So this week we've decided that we're going to go into depth for all of them. So you're going to get to hear exactly why we thought each one of these movies belonged on the list. For the worst movies of 2014, we've decided that they needed to be released in at least 400 theaters, because there's a lot of tripe that winds up directly on VOD or DVD, and it doesn't really feel fair to include it. Without any further ado, let's get into that.
All right, so kicking things off, my number 20 is Annabelle. This is the prequel spin-off to the much better and much more popular The Conjuring from a couple years ago. You want to talk about a movie that is made strictly as a marketing / let's make money tool. Annabelle is certainly up there on that list. It's not scary at all, save for one scene that takes place in a basement / elevator. But by that time, I'm so checked out that I don't care. The best actor in the movie is the doll, which, I'm sorry, when you're making a movie and the doll is your best actor, you have a problem.
I don't know, that priest. The priest was okay.
Not really. The doll was still better.
Fair enough.
The main couple are utterly bland and boring. They're bad at acting in their performances. The horror is not there at all. There's this strange recurring gimmick where you see this little girl, and this is in the trailer, where she's running at a door, and somehow she jumps and turns into a fully grown woman that you see at the beginning of the film. I don't know why they think that's any scary, because it's nothing but a jump startle. Like, we love those. There's this shaman sort of woman who knows about black magic and demons and all that, and she's basically there to be an exposition dump that really doesn't matter. And then
the horror is real.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's stupid and unscary. So when I left the theater, I was depressed when I walked out, because it was just so mind-numbing and painful to sit there, especially because The Conjuring was a good movie that really worked as a horror film. This just doesn't. It's clearly there to fill out a balance sheet because it's cheap to make, and it made plenty of money, and probably is going to get a sequel that it doesn't need. So, yeah, Annabelle, my number 20, a terrible horror film.
I think a lot of the reason as well is, the doll part of The Conjuring worked kind of as like a prequel to The Conjuring itself.
Yeah.
Like they had a part where the two people of The Conjuring, I don't want to call them investigators, because they're not really.
I'll call them exorcists then, because that's what they say they are.
They say they are. And it's like a maybe 10-minute short film about the scary doll, and it kind of works as that, but stretched out to 90 minutes.
Yeah, it stretches out that to infinitely too long. Yep, you're absolutely right.
Annabelle makes my list later on, so we'll skip it at that point.
All
but
right.
It's lower down for me.
Fair enough.
Number 20 for me is Divergent. Shailene Woodley stars as Triss in yet another forgettable teen dystopia film. This time, she gets to save everyone because she doesn't fit into any given group. What a novel concept that is. The somewhat good supporting cast is wasted to allow us to focus on a love story between Woodley and Theo James characters. And then Jai Courtney's also there. And Jai Courtney just doesn't need to be in movies ever. It echoes themes we've seen so often in recent years. Its second act is so long and so uninteresting, and it gives it an outrageous running time of 139 minutes. That's actually probably going to be the running theme of my list this year's movies that are just way too long for what they are.
Well, you're generous in calling what happens between Shailene Woodley and Theo James a love story, because it's basically them just, oh, you're hot, I'm hot, oh, okay, yeah, well, let's
get together.
Yeah, basically. And then the whole class or group category thing, I mean, it's completely pointless because, okay, you're born into a category, and then you take a test that tells you what you're suited for, but then you can still pick which group you go in. So I'm like, okay, why? And then, of course, Shailene Woodley is the chosen one, or one of them, because she's divergent.
And we're going to find out there are a whole bunch more, I think, in the sequels.
Well, based on the trailer to Insurgent, yeah, I'm pretty sure there is more than that.
And the action isn't even good.
Nope, it's not.
And there's not a lot of it.
Yeah, because mostly it's basically training montages, and then you get one action scene at the end that's not all that good at all, other than to set up character tragedy because, oh, we need to have more motivation, other than there's a dystopian government that's trying to wipe everybody out.
I mean, Kate Winslet's in this thing.
Yeah,
she's horrible.
Why is Kate Winslet in this? That's going to be another theme, is why are you in this movie? Particularly good actor.
Good actors doing junky movies.
To say the least.
So yeah, Divergent is my number 20.
All right, so my number 19 is Tammy.
Yeah.
This is another Melissa McCarthy vehicle that's trying to be a comedy. I say trying because it doesn't at all. For some reason, it decides to set us up with Tammy being this, oh, she's this lovable character, she's just misunderstood, and her boss hates her, and you're supposed to feel bad for her, and then her car breaks down and blows up for some reason. And, oh...
Cars always blow up, they have to, it's like a rule.
No. And then it's like, feel sad for me because my husband cheated on me. I'm like, okay, why? And then throw in her mother. I mean, her mother is Allison Janney, and her grandmother is Susan Sarandon, which... By the way, there's maybe a 15-year age difference between McCarthy and Janney, and then another 10 years between Janney and Sarandon. So you explain to me how that works in terms of these actresses. It decides to be a road trip movie because the last road trip movie that Melissa McCarthy in worked out so well, or not. Yeah, it's basically just fat jokes and pratfalls where she falls down, and that's supposed to be funny. I mean, it didn't work for Kevin James. It doesn't work for Melissa McCarthy either. I'm sorry. I'm like, okay.
I mentioned in Mortdecai how dead the theater was for Mortdecai.
Yeah.
I think it was just as dead for Tammy.
I would probably say about the same, because what comedy was there? I mean, the closest thing to comedy might have been something where they're at that party that... For some reason, Kathy Bates is in this. I'm like, okay, sure, Kathy Bates. Either at that party or the scene where they, I think it's like they blow up a trailer or something. I'm trying to even remember because this movie is so disposably forgettable that it...
Yeah, they have to get rid of evidence.
Yeah.
Or something because McCarthy commits crimes for reasons that aren't even reasons.
Yeah, it's like she robs a store and it's supposed to be funny, but it's not, and...
Because she's not a stereotypical robber.
Ooh, yay. I don't care. Go away. It's like,
and then the movie, like, at that party, it wants to have a point.
Yeah.
It wants to make us care and give us purpose, and that's why Kathy Bates is in it, to deliver this monologue to McCarthy about stuff, and it doesn't work at all.
No, it doesn't. And then it tries to pull a romance subplot with McCarthy and this random dude she meets at a bar. I'm like, yeah, you have no chemistry whatsoever. And it's even more particularly ironic because the director of this film is Melissa McCarthy's husband. So, random bar guy gets to make out with the director's wife. Uncomfortable. So, Tammy, awful movie. My number 19.
It's another one that'll make my list later on.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of overlap on these lists.
It seems like it.
Number 19 on my list is Million Dollar Arm.
Ooh.
Which on paper looks like it might have worked. It's an inspirational true story about a couple of Indian teenagers brought to America in hopes of converting them into major league pitchers. They're cricket players, by the way. Cricket and baseball aren't exactly the same thing, but they think that, the mechanics might be similar enough that they can convert them. Unfortunately, it's so dull. It's repetitive. It's predictable. And the characters are so shallow that it makes you wonder if the filmmakers read the true story on Wikipedia and wrote the script based around that. I mean, I knew the story going in. True story movies often work not as well if you know the story, but it didn't feel real at all. And then there's the obligatory love story.
Hello, Lake Bell.
Lake Bell's in this just so that the protagonist can fall in love with her, and that's it.
And I know it's a true story, but why would you fall in love with this guy? He's a narcissistic, arrogant jerk. No.
For most of the movie, but then they win him over and fix him somehow.
Yeah.
Magically.
Oh, yeah, sure. Lovely. And Alan Arkin is in this, trying to be funny, and you might get. I think he gets one of the two best lines in the entire movie. But other than that,
that's not saying much.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm like, Alan Arkin, or again, speaking of, why are you in this? John Hamm, why are you in this? Lake Bell, why are you in this? Alan Arkin, why are you in this? Bill Paxton, why are you in this?
Million Dollar Arm is bad from start to finish. It's just another inspirational sports movie that's just, it's not.
I didn't hate it quite as much as you, but yeah, it's so disappointing. But it's a Disney inspirational sports movie. You should pretty much expect bad things from all of their inspirational sports movies, unless it's Remember the Titans, which I'm not even sure that's Disney. But Remember the Titans is the go-to example of inspirational sports movies that work.
Yeah.
So, my number 18 is a remake. It's a musical. It's Annie.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that they tried to remake Annie for the modern day with black characters. I mean, Quvenzhané Wallace and Jamie Foxx. Unfortunately, the result is just awful. The singing is terrible, especially. Okay, not gonna leave her alone for a minute. The story really doesn't make any sort of commentary on the socio-political and socioeconomic aspects that you could. It pays lip service to them, but doesn't really go into any sort of good depth like it could. The supporting cast is completely wasted. I mean, Rose Byrne, we know, has comedic chops, and yet here she's totally unfunny, and her only characterization is she has an unrequited crush on her boss. Bobby Cannavale is turned into a gibbering buffoon. And then there's Cameron Diaz. What on earth is Cameron Diaz in this film?
Or doing still acting.
Well, there's that, but I'm trying to at least be a little nice. But her acting is awful. Her singing is worse. Her character is a drunk who is depressed because she didn't get to be in a musical act back in the 80s, and so now she's stuck playing a foster parent to a few kids. And Jamie Foxx is basically nothing but a Steve Jobs, Bill Gates knockoff, who's a cell phone magnate, apparently. And you see all the plot twists coming because there's no original bone in this film's body. Yes, it's a remake, but still. This movie...
The problem I had most with Annie, it felt cynical, it felt materialistic.
You want to talk about cynicism? I mean, it opens with another redheaded girl named Annie who delivers a book report and then finishes it by tap dancing, and then the teacher says, "Okay, thank you, Annie B. Go sit down." And I'm like, thank you for slapping fans of the original in the face. And I'm not even a fan of the original, but I'm sorry, that's a slap in the face. And
yeah, but it's Annie gets adopted.
Yeah.
She gets a bunch of nice things that you can buy. By the way, they're by Sony. Oh, and also the movie's coming right around Christmas time. Come on.
Yeah, the product placement is rather atrocious. And then, speaking of, did somebody not read the script and realize they made a Hurricane Sandy joke? I mean, so she's chasing after a dog and she's going to adopt it, and she decides to name it Sandy, and then immediately as she says Sandy, Jamie Foxx's character says it goes like a hurricane. I'm like, tone deaf. Hello, you're set in New York. You talk about a hurricane that really affected New York. Think, people. So Annie annoyed me from minute one. Just a waste of everything, and I mean, especially some of the talent that's involved. So that's 18 for me.
Number 18 for me is also a remake, but it's not Annie. It's RoboCop. The new RoboCop takes a smart, satirical, and quite violent movie and turns it into generic and pointless PG-13 actioner. It's emotionally and intellectually repressive. There's no humor. There's very little action. All the characters are dull. But the only good thing that I can say about it is Samuel L. Jackson's lampooning of a hyper-political television personality. And that only really works because it's Samuel L. Jackson doing it. The rest of the movie, it's so dull and such a big stinker. And, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the first RoboCop. I do like it. And it's not the worst RoboCop ever because RoboCop 3 exists. But it's so bad.
Yeah, I certainly understand that one. Ironically, number 17 for me is RoboCop. As you said, it's very much a stinker with very terrible action. The terrible action is epitomized for me in a massive shootout sequence that is filmed completely in the dark, lit only by the muzzle flashes of guns, with terrible shaky cam mixed in. This gave me a headache. I don't like getting headaches in movies. Jackie Earle Haley is in this for some reason as a rival of RoboCop, because basically he scoffs because he's a real human and RoboCop is barely human and mostly machine. And like, okay, why are you here, Jackie Earle Haley? You're so much better than this. Gary Oldman adds a little bit of gravitas as this scientist who's recruited to help out to create RoboCop, essentially. Michael Keaton playing Raymond Sellers, the evil businessman. I mean, mustache-twirling, scenery-chewing villain, if ever there was one. It's really sad that Michael Keaton comes out later that year. So, yeah. Joel Kinnaman as the lead RoboCop is completely boring. They butcher the original plot by actually keeping his family around, and yet they're completely pointless and uninteresting. Samuel L. Jackson sort of works, but ultimately not really. There's no satire like from the first movie. It's just so bad as an action film. My number 17.
My number 17 is Winter's Tale, which is... it's so stupid. I think I rolled my eyes more during Winter's Tale than any other film in 2014. I might have cringed more, too. I mean,
I don't blame you.
This one stars Colin Farrell as a career burglar in the early part of the 20th century, but after a good chunk of nothing much happens at all, he finds himself transported in time to the present day. And then Will Smith shows up as Lucifer for some reason.
Wearing a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt, you must not forget that. It's anachronistic beyond belief.
What was that? I mean, Will Smith took me completely out of the movie when he showed up.
You mean you weren't taken out by... Russell Crowe's weird Irish accent?
No. Although Russell Crowe somehow manages to chase Colin Farrell for the entire movie because he's so dead set on catching him. That darn Colin Farrell guy. Jessica Brown Finley and Jennifer Connelly are both wasted in this. Eva Marie Saint has a cameo in this, playing some 104-year-old person who somehow manages to run a newspaper. I'm not quite sure how that was supposed to work, but, you know, she does it.
I understand.
It's a mess. And
absolutely.
And it's an adapted thing too.
Yeah. One of the worst adaptations I've ever seen.
It was terrible.
Absolutely. So my number 16 is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Franchise maintenance is the best phrase to describe this movie. It features terrible, inconsistent characterization for Spider-Man. Is he a loving boyfriend? Is he a stalker? Oh, wait, he's both. Why? And it completely ruins the everyman character that he's supposed to be. Because, I mean, it's supposed to be anybody could have been bitten by this radioactive spider and gotten superpowers. In this one, Peter Parker is the chosen one because he's got magic DNA that makes him Spider-Man. What am I? Thank you for ruining it, Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman, you scourges of cinema. We get the new character, Harry Osborn, just shows up, and we're supposed to care about him because, he's Peter Parker's childhood friend. Oh, wait, where was he in the first one again? Oh, wait, he wasn't. Never mind. The movie is overly long. The CGI is hideous, especially when looking at Electro.
So bad.
It looks like knockoff Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We have disapproving Dennis Leary ghost dad, which is the most hilarious thing. Like, I know you're supposed to be dramatic and gravitas and what have you, but no, you're just comedic Dennis Leary. Why are you here? Other than to keep Peter Parker from getting his girlfriend.
It's basically all.
Pretty much. And, I mean, it literally serves to check off a balance sheet and say, we have to keep things around for the next one because we want to keep making more in these movies. I mean, there's plenty of Sony. Speaking again of Sony, they're becoming kind of the poster children for product placement in movies.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, the ending exists to foreshadow the next couple of these, which might not even happen now that Sony is willing to work with Marvel to get Spider-Man into Avengers Infinity War.
We pray that they don't happen.
Yeah, I really don't need to see...
To be fair, I kind of want to see Black Cat, Felicity Jones' Black Cat.
Yeah, that would be... Okay. I agree, that would be cool. I mean, well, the real thing is, did people even realize who that was supposed to be?
I don't think so.
I mean
she has like 3 scenes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's like she's Felicia Hardy. It's like, ooh, Black Cat.
Yeah.
But if you don't know comic books, then you don't know who that is, other than just random girl who's... I mean, they had the same problem in Spider-Man 3, where Felicia Hardy shows up, and she's just, they're teasing for Black Cat. And I'm like, well, no, they didn't end up going anywhere with that, because Spider-Man 3 was so awful. Unfortunately, Spider-Man 2 is even worse than Spider-Man 3, or Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yes. Sony, why did you decide to bring this back? Because you're stupid corporate... Okay. Amazing Spider-Man 2, number 16, awful movie. Move on.
My number 16 is also an action movie. I mentioned it a couple of weeks back, The Expendables 3. Now, The Expendables is one of my least favorite trilogies of all time, even though I often enjoy dumb action movies, as I'm sure you know.
Of course.
But The Expendables, it doesn't do it well. The action is bland. The characters are terrible. They're all mostly actors. I mean, Jason Statham's in them. They're mostly actors who shouldn't be acting anymore.
Or shouldn't be acting at all in the case of Kellen Lutz.
And the inherent thrill of seeing them all together is worn away so quickly that you can't enjoy anything that happens in them. And somehow Expendables 3 is the worst of them. They keep getting worse. I know it made money despite its whole piracy controversy thing. And we'll probably get a 4th one, but can we not?
One can only hope. So my number 15 is another summer blockbuster that makes me weep. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The characterization of these turtles is so awful that it amazes me. Particularly the characterization of Michelangelo as being this creepy thing that's obsessed with Megan Fox. I mean, basically everything he says to her is an innuendo of some kind, which makes it really uncomfortable. And then Megan Fox's acting is once again terrible. I mean, she's always been terrible, but this should not be a surprise. The CGI that they use to make the Turtles and Splinter is more hideous than even the trailers led me to think.
And the character design, too. It's not just bad CGI, it's bad design.
Absolutely. And then, like Amazing Spider-Man 2, it decides to use the magic blood MacGuffin gimmick thing again, for some reason, to make the Turtles the chosen ones. Not that they need it. The reason they're ninjas is not because of some connection to Japan that Master Splinter had. He was a rat who was a lab animal who fell down a sewer, got basically magic powers, and found a book on ninjutsu and decided it would make a good parenting manual. why?
And then, of course, the turtles get tied into Megan Fox's character in the dumbest way.
Yeah, it's totally pointless. And there's tonal inconsistencies to no end because this is too simple for adults, but it's way too mature for kids. And the climax of this movie is literally a ripoff of Amazing Spider-Man 1, right down to the collapsing tower. Raphael gets this speech where he's talking about how he's sorry for all the bad things he ever did to his brothers. And I'm like, those things that we never ever saw because you tried to explain. They actually go into the Turtles' backstory in the opening credits, basically, briefly, which was cool because it means that we weren't going to get a huge exposition dump. And then they still give us a huge exposition dump explaining the Turtles' backstory all over again. Thank you for wasting my time. Yes, there's one good action sequence involving an avalanche, but sorry, Jonathan Liebsman is a terrible director of action. He never lets things breathe afterwards or before. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a terrible film. My number 15.
Moving from a Michael Bay produced movie to a Michael Bay directed movie, my number 15 is Transformers: Age of Extinction. I don't exactly know who keeps giving Bay the freedom to make the Transformers movies as long as he does, but there's no conceivable way they should be almost 3 hours. This one serves as a kind of soft reboot for the series as it gives the lead performance to Mark Wahlberg and kills off a whole bunch of the supporting robots. But of course there's another villain afoot, this one from a mysterious third race, which we've never even heard of before now, so, doesn't seem invented for the movie at all, no sir. And now it's up to Marky Mark and Optimus Prime to save all the good guys. The story seems like it was written up by children. The action is about as inventive as kids playing with toys, and somehow it runs for about 160 minutes, maybe more. It's not technically the worst Transformers since, the second one still exists. But it's so bad. And, Michael Bay keeps saying he's done with the franchise. He clearly doesn't care about it. Can he just be done?
Yeah, I want him to go back to making, Painting Game, something like that.
Yeah.
A decent film.
That'd be great.
Not this utter trash. Last week, I got to praise Tyler Perry for his role in Gone Girl. My number 14, I get to bash Tyler Perry for his atrocious directed film, The Single Moms Club. It's supposed to be a comedy. It's not, except for one character who's actually legitimately funny. The characterization is utterly weak and paper thin, where we've got these 5 different women who are all dealing with various problems in their lives, which it's nice that it's talking about single moms and actually showing the rough time that they have, but not when you're doing cliched and utterly generic characters, so that's disappointing. This treats women as being either manipulative shrews or damsels in distress, and it treats men as being either complete jerks or white knights who exist solely to save the damsels in distress. The acting from the child characters in this thing is terrible, worse than even you would expect. Tim Story is the director. He is a hack to the point where there is a music video in this movie of the female characters singing a song during a night out together, and it even features a music video credit at the end directed by Tim Story.
It's not self-indulgent at all.
Self-indulgent. Tyler Perry writes himself into this movie as this just really nice, helpful guy who's actually a little bit of a stalker, really, if you actually stop and think about it for 5 seconds. The direction is awful. The cinematography is lame. Tyler Perry, please stop directing movies, and if you're going to act, then at least hook up with directors that are good, like David Fincher, please. So, Tyler Perry's Single Moms Club, number 14.
My number 14 is Need for Speed, which, in all honesty, I completely forgot existed until we looked back and saw what we watched in 2014. That's how forgettable it was.
It's very forgettable.
It's based on the video game series of the same name, which should really tell you about all you need to know, since video game movie adaptations are usually of let's call it dubious quality.
Well, in this one, the video game really has no story to begin with.
Exactly.
So you have free creative license to create a potentially decent story.
And they decide to make it a cross-country road trip. And, I mean, it's Aaron Paul and Imogen Poots, and they have no chemistry. It's 130 minutes long. The racing is okay. I mean, there's like 2 races, maybe, and they're fine-ish.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton's in this movie, and it's nice to see Michael Keaton in movies, but that was before we saw Birdman. I mean, we're like, hey, Michael Keaton, it's always fun to see you, and then we see Birdman, and we go, Michael Keaton, why did you do so much junk at the beginning of the year? And it's bland, it's forgettable. They had creative license to make a story up, and they made the worst Fast and the Furious movie they could have made.
That's a nice comparison. I mean, Dominic Cooper is a bland, mustache-twirling villain. Aaron Paul, I mean, I thought he was a good actor. I'm starting to think otherwise, because basically he's either looking sad or he's trying to be tough, and unfortunately he doesn't do that at all very well.
He might be worse than Chris Pine. Because Chris Pine can do the silly, goofy roles.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. I mean, we haven't seen Aaron Paul in enough movies quite yet to know. I mean, we basically have this and his cameo, if you will, in Exodus Gods and Kings, which I actually didn't even realize it was Aaron Paul until I saw the credits. So that goes to show you that. But yeah, Need for Speed was terrible.
So what's your number 13?
Oh, Adam Sandler, why do you keep making comedies? My number 13 is Blended. Like I said, Adam Sandler's latest attempt at making a comedic film. Unfortunately, I laughed not a single time in this film. Sandler is playing this terrible, terrible dad who, I mean, he treats his oldest kid like a boy to the point where he calls her Larry, even though her name is Hillary. He's trying to force her to be this basketball player. And then even creepier, so Adam Sandler is a widower who lost his wife to cancer. The middle kid has this thing where she talks to nothing, basically, but she pretends it's her mom, to the point where, like, even at the dinner table, they save an empty seat and a plate for mom because the middle kid has issues. And I'm like, why are we not getting these kids therapy? Adam Sandler, you are killing your children. And yet, for some reason, we're supposed to like him because, he's
Adam Sandler.
He's Adam Sandler. Drew Barrymore gets nothing in this film. I mean, she's this put upon single mom because her kids are somehow even creepier than Adam Sandler's kids because they're hyper, and one of them is growing up, shall we say, and has this very creepy fixation with his babysitter. Oh, that movie was creepy. It wastes any talent that Terry Crews could possibly bring to this movie. It has some of the this annoying gimmick where it has Terry Crews singing about blend. I mean, the word blended gets used so many times that you could probably play bingo with it.
Did you find it racist at all?
A little. I mean, the stereotyping of the African characters was a little on the nose, especially with the guy who's running this blended family retreat, which, speaking of Africa, this movie was basically an excuse for Adam Sandler and his friends to travel to Africa, much like pretty much every Adam Sandler comedy that's been made in the last 5 years or so.
Paid vacation time, baby.
Yep, pretty much. And thankfully, this movie did not make very much money, and Adam Sandler is going to go away for a little while so that we can do Netflix exclusive films, which makes me happy.
Because nobody has to watch them.
Yep, nobody's forced to, and Blended is just a terrible, terrible comedy. My number 13.
My number 13 is another terrible comedy, this one by Seth MacFarlane. It's A Million Ways to Die in the West. I'm starting to get the feeling that Seth MacFarlane should maybe just stick to television. I mean, he directed Ted. Now he decided to be the live-action lead of another comedy, as well as the writer, director, and producer. The end result, it didn't work. It's very little plot, very little in terms of characters, it's rarely funny, and it's 2 hours long. Comedies. Okay, let me just pause right here. Comedies don't need to be 2 hours long.
Nope.
I mean, we've got to the point where we've got comedies going almost 2.5 hours. I mean, how long was Funny People?
About as long.
Judd Apatow has a big problem with that, but it's not just him, and it's we're starting to see comedies that are going over 2 hours, and they, unless you're really, really talented, and I think McFarlane is talented, but only in smaller portions.
Did you like Ted?
I was mixed on Ted. Overall, yeah, it was okay, but
Okay.
it didn't, it didn't set the world on fire for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's another case of why are these actors here? Because, I mean, Charlize Theron is in this.
Liam Neeson is in this.
Yeah. Neil Patrick Harris has the only good part of this movie, which is a song about mustaches. He does a better mustache gimmick than Mortdecai and Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And he's doing it in a Seth MacFarlane comedy.
And McFarlane is not a good enough actor to lead the movie. I mean, it would be like, remember how Tarantino was in Django Unchained? It's like that, but leading a movie.
Yeah, I mean, the only difference is that Tarantino was in it for a brief cameo and he wasn't a major character.
Yeah.
Whereas McFarlane is the guy we're supposed to like and find lovable and funny, and I'm like, no, McFarlane, you do not work here.
About the only times I felt the movie worked was when it was taking random pot shots at westerns, but there aren't enough of those to sustain it.
Back to the Future 3.
Yeah, let's not
Why?
even. No. So that's
The
my
fact,
number
that
13.
the fact that they even got Christopher Lloyd in that is just depressing.
We just spoiled the only part that needed spoiling, so you don't have to see this movie now.
Yeah, you didn't need to see this movie anyway.
No.
It's not worth it. So my number 12 is Tusk. I wanted to walk out of this film halfway through because it was making me so angry. It's supposed to be this really dark comedy where Justin Long is this podcaster who basically he gets together with Haley Joel Osment, because Haley Joel Osment, and they make fun of all these like internet videos, kind of like Daniel Tosh, except not funny in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Also like Daniel Tosh.
Zinger.
Yes. And so he decides to take a road trip to Canada to go see this one guy, but that doesn't work out as well as he had hoped. And so he randomly finds this thing in a bathroom that says this old guy who wants to tell his story to somebody. And so Michael Parks is this old guy who used to be a sailor, basically, and he wants to tell Justin Long all these stories. Unfortunately, he's not such a nice dude, and he basically kidnaps Justin Long because he wants to do things to him related to walruses, because he has a fascination with walruses.
For reasons that you don't need to know.
Not really, no. And I won't spoil all of what happens, but the reveal is what I'll say is so comedically bad that I face palmed openly when I saw that because it looks so bad. It's also supposed to be a horror film, and
It's not at all.
It's not scary at all. And then Johnny Depp shows up.
Not credited as Johnny Depp, though.
I don't care. He's Johnny Depp, whether he's credited or not. And his character is utterly annoying and stupid, and I don't know why he's here.
He's playing, for those who don't know, he's playing a retired French-Canadian police officer.
Who's supposed to be funny, but, is not funny, because Johnny Depp is not funny anymore. Kevin Smith, I mean, I like Clerks a lot. I really like Dogma. Kevin Smith needs to stop.
He said he was going to stop, too, and that he didn't.
Yeah, I'm over Kevin Smith. His cleverness is well expired. Tusk is my number 12.
What's going to irritate you a bit more is that Tusk is actually the beginning of a trilogy. The second of which stars Kevin Smith's daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter.
Who were actually in Tusk playing these two convenience store clerks who were oh so Canadian.
And they're going to be the lead of the next movie.
Yeah, I know.
My number 12 is Godzilla. So it's not as bad as the 1998 Godzilla, which is at least something. I mean, this one's pretty bad, but it's not quite as horrible as the last time we tried it. This one stars Aaron Taylor Johnson as Mr. Bland Soldier Man number 64, and mostly just has him going from one place to another, waiting for Godzilla to show up. Yes, for a movie called Godzilla, it has very little of the titular monster. There's a big fight at the end that was fine, but mostly we're just waiting for everyone to get in position for it. And instead of seeing the monster do stuff, we follow humans around doing little of consequence. I mean, most of the movie for Godzilla just has Godzilla going swimming. And we don't even see most of Godzilla.
So funnily enough, when I saw that swimming sequence where he is literally swimming in time with a group of American battleships, I'm thinking, did Gareth Edwards swap out and substitute Michael Bay? Because this seems like a very Michael Bay thing.
In a lot of ways, I felt that Godzilla did suffer from the same problems that Transformers do. I mean, it was focused way too much on human military guys than the things that are in the title. I mean, I think Transformers are actually better simply because you see Transformers more in the Transformers movies than you get to see Godzilla. And then this movie has Ken Watanabe and Sally Hawkins. And they're here just to give exposition.
Mm-hmm. And Bryan Cranston is supposed to be really interesting, and
he's not. And Elizabeth Olsen's in it, and she does nothing. And Godzilla is my number 12 of the year.
I don't blame you. So I just brought up Mr. Bay. Number 11, Transformers: Age of Extinction. We've already said that it's way too long. It's way too long. Mark Wahlberg is supposed to be portraying this Texas lovable inventor scientist guy. I'm like, you look like a bodybuilder, Mark Wahlberg. You do not look like a nerdy scientist. Go away.
See Black Hat for another one.
No kidding. The action sequences are stereotypical Michael Bay explosion fests that half the time you can't even tell what's going on. It features a lot of creepy daddy knows best interactions between Mark Wahlberg and his daughter, who's played by Nicola Peltz, who's... I didn't need to see her again after Avatar, or the Last Airbender, rather. That atrocity.
That's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a bad thing, but it's a thing. The movie advertising promised us Dinobots, and yet they only show up in the last 10 minutes. So, and after having to sit through 2.5 hours of garbage just to get the actual thing I wanted, it didn't really make me care at all, especially because they're just there to be kind of plot devices of sorts.
They act a lot like the Army of the Dead from that Lord of the Rings movie.
Actually, yeah, that's a perfect analogy for it. They're
here to solve a plot problem.
Yeah, exactly. The villains are utterly laughable or pointless. So why is Stanley Tucci in this? Stanley Tucci is good in this, but why is he in this? And then we bring out Transformium, which I thought Unobtainium from Avatar was bad enough. Transformium is even worse. And it also tosses in product placement during that scene because yay.
And of course, a lot of it takes place in China to get.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, it's almost like a recruiting / advertising thing for China because China is awesome. So yeah,
go China.
Yeah.
This podcast sponsored by China, by the way.
We wish.
We do.
So yeah, we wish. But Transformers: Age of Extinction, my number 11. Please stop, Michael Bay. Or go back to making Pain and Gain. I liked Pain and Gain.
Let's do Pain and Gain 2.
Well, no, because that would...
Better than Transformers 5.
Fair enough.
My number 11 is Pompeii, another film I more or less completely forgot existed. This one blandly stars Kit Harington as not Gladiator Man in a terrible melodrama that mixes together Gladiator and a take-your-pick of killer volcano movies. But it does it without any sort of purpose or excitement. I think part of the problem of Pompeii is that it's a foregone conclusion. We know the volcano is going to erupt. The movie knows the volcano is going to erupt. I mean, it shows the volcano starting to erupt like 20 times. And even the characters seem to know it's all going to happen. So they have to go through this whole mini Gladiator plot because we got to kill time before the volcano erupts. And then there's this bad love story between Harrington and Emily Browning's character, and Kiefer Sutherland's in this, and he's married to Carrie Ann Moss, I think.
No,
they were different people.
Yes, they were.
But they're both in it.
Yes.
They're both terrible. Everyone's terrible in this movie. I just wanted the volcano to erupt so that it could end everyone's suffering.
You don't think horse whispering is a good basis for a romance?
No. I mean, when I see a Paul W.S. Anderson movie, I at least I think I know what I'm going to expect. I'm not going to expect smart, but I'm going to expect at least some sort of fun. There's none of that in Pompeii.
Nope. The only thing that's worth watching in this movie is the volcano eruption, and even that is not enough to make this movie worth anything.
It takes way too long to get to that point.
Yep.
Pompeii's my number 11.
Okay, so my number 10, I'm pretty sure you didn't see. My number 10 is a little thing called The Identical.
You're right, I didn't see it.
Okay.
It didn't even get released here.
Well, it got released in almost 2,000 theaters here and flopped badly at the box office and was critically lampooned, and deservedly so. So basically the premise is that it takes Elvis Presley, who had a brother who was stillborn. So it basically takes that idea, doesn't actually call them Elvis, but says, what if they both survived? So you get these two twin boys who are born to this poor couple. They can't raise them because this is the Great Depression, so we're poor. So they give up one of the boys to Ray Liotta and Ashley Judd, who are a preacher and his wife. And it turns out that the son, who was not given up for adoption, ends up becoming this famous rock star, essentially exactly like Elvis. And then the other son, who's raised by Ray Liotta, is basically trained to try to become a preacher, even though he doesn't actually feel the calling from God. And so then he finds the music of the guy who is his twin. Everybody tells him, hey, you look alike, you must be twins, to which he says, no, we're not, even though it's bloody obvious that they are. And then it decides to throw a loop where the preacher twin becomes an impersonator of the rocker twin.
What?
And then it gets worse. Elvis is a real person in this movie.
Oh.
So you have not Elvis, impersonator of not Elvis, and then real Elvis. And this is made all the worse because the guy who's playing the impersonator, he goes by the name The Identical in his act. He actually is a real-life Elvis impersonator. And you want to talk about actors who are too old to be playing these characters? The character in this movie is supposed to be 18. The man playing him is 40. Yeah, he doesn't look 40. Or 18, rather. He looks 40. It's ridiculous. It has one good song, fine. Seth Green is in this movie to play his best friend for some reason. Ray Liotta is terrible. There's plot cliches to no end. Ashley Judd isn't good in this movie either. And this is only the beginning of these type of movies on this list, but The Identical, awful, number 10.
Well, my number 10 is one we've already discussed, so I'll just basically list it, and it's Tammy. Melissa McCarthy is at her worst here. Susan Sarandon is even bad. I mean, when is Susan Sarandon bad? Not a whole
Here,
lot.
apparently.
Yeah, here. And they go on a road trip, and nothing much happens except, as you said earlier, fat girl fall down.
Yeah, not funny in the least.
No, that's my number 10.
Okay, so my number 9, I don't know if you saw this one either, which might be a recurring theme for my top 10, but this one is an animated movie, the only animated movie to make this list. It's Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return.
I almost saw it, and then I was like, I shouldn't see this.
You made the smart decision. This is literally an animated sequel to the original Wizard of Oz. I don't know why they decided to make a sequel to Wizard of Oz and make it animated, but they did. Unfortunately, that animation is very bad. It's like worse than even Strange Magic. The voice acting is pretty terrible. You get Lea Michele in the lead role as Dorothy, and then you get supporting characters with Martin Short and Dan Aykroyd, Kelsey Grammer and Jim Belushi, and none of them giving good performance. I mean, they are phoning it in to no end. You get supporting characters like Marshall Mallow, because original names are lame. You have a China princess who is petty and is actually kills a bunch of people by screaming. And then you get Oliver Platt playing this fat owl named Weiser, who's basically there just for, say, Melissa McCarthy pratfalls and to be goofy. The plot is that the Wicked Witch of the West's brother is a court jester, and he always hated being her whipping boy, and so now she's gone, he can try to take over, because if he gets her magical broom, it'll give him powers to take over the kingdom, and he imprisons like Glinda the Good Witch and all the other good characters and makes them into marionettes. Yay. So it's basically insulting the Wizard of Oz. It's also a musical, and the songs are utterly, utterly generic. Easily the worst animated thing I ever saw this year, and I saw every theatrically released, or widely theatrically released film of last year that was animated, so not a good representative of that genre in my number 9.
My number 9, actually my next few are ones that we've already discussed, so I guess you're going to be doing most of the talking. But my number 9 is Blended, the latest. Adam Sandler goes on vacation and brings along his friends and a camera. I mean, okay, Sandler, you like Drew Barrymore and your friends and you do movies together and stuff, but why do we have to sit through it? You have enough money. You can go on vacation with your friends and not need to make a movie.
But you're not getting paid to go on vacation.
He doesn't need to be paid anymore. He's good.
I agree. Stop making movies.
I mean, what was the last good Adam Sandler movie? Like Click?
Probably. He had a good 5-minute cameo in Chris Rock's top 5, but
it's not an Adam Sandler movie, though.
Exactly.
I mean, we know what you say Adam Sandler movie, and people know what they're going to expect, which is, I guess, an accomplishment in and of itself.
It's not the sort of accomplishment I would want to be known for.
Well, no, but I mean, at least it's better than some people. I mean, you know what you're getting.
Pretty much.
One could call him an auteur if one wanted to completely ruin the word auteur.
Yeah. So, can we come up with some sort of reverse auteur thing?
We should think on that.
Yes, we should think. Okay, we'll get back to you on that, audience.
We'll think of that for next week. There's your hook for next week.
Yay.
So yeah, number 9 is Blended.
I think my number 8 is another one you didn't see, but I'm not sure. Mom's Night Out.
Nope.
Okay, so this one features Sarah Drew playing a mommy blogger, which has become kind of a new thing for female protagonists. She's married to Sean Astin, who's an architect. He's away from home a lot. He's also a man-child when he is around. So she suffers from a lot of anxiety issues to the point where she actually suffers from what she calls stress paralysis, where you literally see her curled up in the fetal position in the bathroom, and you're kind of scared for her, and so you think, well, okay, she probably needs to go see a doctor. But this is a religious movie, so it decides to give us Trace Adkins, country star, playing a tattoo artist who's also a biker who just tells her you need Jesus and that's it. Now, I'm not somebody who hates religious films for being religious films. I like the Ten Commandments. I think the animated story of the Exodus, Prince of Egypt, is really good, but this is just garbage. I mean, when you're sitting there telling somebody that they don't need any sort of medical help, that's disturbing. And then her friends tell her, "Oh, you just need a night out." And so that's the whole where the plot comes from in the title. And of course, everything goes wrong. And I mean, her husband's babysitting the kid, and the baby goes missing.
Because of course it does.
Yeah, because all the men are man-children in this movie. There's one of them who, the husband of her best friend, is literally scared of children because he thinks he's going to do something that's going to get him arrested for child abuse.
What?
And he has 4-year-old twins.
What?
Yeah, and so this also features a dumb comedic moment where one of the other friends she's the preacher's wife, and they go out to a bowling alley because the restaurant they try to go to, they lost their reservation, and the lane they get on had a party there before, and so there's a lot of beer bottles, and so the preacher's wife is trying to get rid of the beer bottles and toss them out, but then all of a sudden, it's time for disco spotlight night, and the spotlight falls right on the preacher's wife, and so she's embarrassedly trying to hide the beer bottles as though holding beer bottles is somehow scandalous because, you're a preacher's wife. It's like...
What?
Yeah, welcome to religious movies. And this isn't the last religious movie on this list, unfortunately. So, but Mom's Night Out is just, it's so uncomfortable because of the anxiety thing and the fact that it basically says all you need is a handful of Jesus. And
that fixes mental health issues.
Yeah. So, Mom's Night Out, number 8.
My number 8 is Annie, which we've already talked about. I have a big problem with the casting in Annie. And no, it's not because I'm racist. The problem is Cameron Diaz. It's not Quvenzhané Wallis. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Quvenzhané Wallis, but doing a black Annie, that's fine. It's Cameron Diaz being in this movie, or really any movie recently. She's not good. She was never a good actress. She's getting worse.
Yeah, 2014 was the year of bad Cameron Diaz movies.
And then she has to try to sing. She's not a singer. The music in Annie is terrible. The original songs are even worse. I mean, they do a bunch of the songs from the original. Some of them have updated lyrics a little bit, but then there are new songs because they tried to get the Oscar for Best Original Song, which luckily they didn't get nominated for. I think they got a Golden Globe nomination, though.
Yep.
And then it's all so cynical. It's materialistic. It's product placement. It's coming out around Christmas so that you can buy all this junk. And Annie frustrated me from beginning to end.
You and me both.
So it's my number 8.
So my number 7 is a movie that you've already brought up, but I must expound upon it. Winter's Tale.
Yeah.
So we said this was the worst adaptation. Akiva Goldsman is the writer-director of this. Now, this is the guy who won an Oscar for A Beautiful Mind. Now, keep in mind he's also responsible for Batman and Robin, so okay. But this movie is so eye-rollingly stupid that it made Valentine's Day terrible for me. I mean, the plot is total nonsense because, I mean, Colin Firth playing a thief raised by... Yes, Farrell. I always get those two confused for some reason. Colin Farrell, the actual Irishman, gets put with Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe doing a silly Irish accent next to an actual Irishman. Makes no sense. The amount of times the words destiny or miracles shows up makes me want to vomit.
It's like Love and Strange Magic, but maybe worse.
Exactly. The time travel thing is utterly silly. I mean, the 105-year-old newspaper editor who was Jessica Brown Finley's sister in 1915 or something like that. What? How is she still alive and looking so spry and running her own magazine? That doesn't make sense. And then we talked about how Will Smith shows up as Lucifer wearing a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt in 1915. What? I mean, it's funny, but at the same time, you're baffled as to why Will Smith is here.
And it takes you completely out of... I mean, if you were absorbed in the movie at all, it completely takes you out.
Yeah. If you were absorbed in this movie, then you're a lot better than me. And then... Horse! That horse was one of the most goofy things I have ever seen. It's like... When Crow's like, he found the horse. Like, okay, what's so special about the horse?
It was a magical horse.
Explain. It doesn't explain anything. It just says miracles and destiny. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything, movie. Give me something to go on here.
Hey, you can throw buzzwords around and it means everything. Just ask the others.
Yeah. And then the heavy-handed similitude between the Jessica Brown Finley character and the Jennifer Connelly character. Lame storytelling. It's like, we need to find a character with red hair. Which one? Like, oh, well, it's, the one who doesn't have hair right now because she's cancer-ridden. And then I honestly thought I was going to go somewhere very creepy at the end with what they did with Colin Farrell and the kid, but thankfully they didn't. But this movie was so brain-breakingly dumb, especially as part of a Valentine's Day triple feature that I got to sit through that was one good movie and two bad ones. So, Winter's Tale, my number 7.
My number 7, another one we already brought up, is Annabelle. Yeah. I kind of liked the creepy doll part of The Conjuring, like I said earlier, but it doesn't deserve its own movie. Some of these things, like, we say all the time horror villains work best if you see them very little. I mean, the unknown is scarier than the known.
The Babadook.
So now we get to see this scary doll for 90 minutes. And it's front and center. It's not like it's only there and it moves around, and well, it does move around, but you see it.
The stupidity of this movie is emphasized by when the husband first gives the wife the doll, and she sets it on the shelf, and she says, "Oh, look, it fits right in." And I'm like, it's a creepy doll set amongst pretty other-looking ones. No, it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone would actually buy that doll and be like, "Oh, look, it's so pretty."
Yeah.
It's just another... Filmmakers, we get it. You can pair loud music with sudden cuts or quick pans. Congratulations. Now focus on storytelling.
What story? There's no story in this movie.
Not
It's
really.
just random nonsense.
Yeah.
Because we can't come up with anything original. Okay, so my number 5, speaking of horror films, or attempts at horror films, A Haunted House 2. This is trying to spoof a lot of other popular horror films like Paranormal Activity and Sinister and Annabelle or The Conjuring. And it fails miserably because all it does is show you these things and basically points to them as references and say, "Here, laugh at this. This is funny." And it's not. Damon Wayans is just loud and utterly obnoxious. There's no comedy in this. This was the other movie that I seriously considered walking out of this year other than Tusk, because, I mean, after the number of rape jokes in this movie, I mean, whether it's child molestation or prison rape, utterly creepy, creepier than anything else in this movie. And then there's this protracted 3-minute scene where Damon Wayans and the Annabelle doll have carnal relations, shall we say. I could not believe that I actually saw this in a film that was released to theaters wide in 2014. I wanted to claw my eyes out when that came on screen.
Coincidentally enough, A Haunted House 2 counts as my number 5 worst movie of 2014 as well.
Perfect.
And it basically comes down if whether you want to see that aforementioned scene. If you do, then you're the perfect type of person for this movie. You should stop listening to us right now. Rent it on Redbox, or maybe I think it's on Netflix as well. And that'll be the end of that.
And no, don't rent it on Redbox. Do not give this any more money than it already has earned. I don't want to see another one of these. Unfortunately, it made enough money that we'll probably see a sequel.
Well, you can make these things on the very cheap. I mean, cheaper than the actual horror movies, which is scary. That's the most horrific thing about them.
Yep. Okay, well, that was your number 5, so I gotta crawl back around. My number 5 is another horror film, Ouija, if you can call that a horror film, because it's not scary. The plot is absolutely dumb, because it's basically the Ouija board has unleashed some kind of demonic spirit in this house, and it's haunting all these people. The acting is utterly terrible. The characters are paper-thin cliches. The amount of jump startles in this movie are ridiculous. There were actually several jump startles where I wasn't scared. I was actually laughing at them. Not even like my heart rate elevated. I was just like, this is so hilarious of how stupid it is. And then especially some of the character deaths that take place. I'm like, dude gets tangled up in a pool cover and drowns. Or girl falls over, hits her head on the side of a sink.
It's so clever, though.
Yeah. And to put this in perspective, I saw this the same night I saw Birdman. So
Ooh.
I saw my best movie of 2014 on the same night as my number 5 worst of 2014. That's probably the starkest contrast of films that I saw all year, because Ouija is absolutely terrible. And my number 5.
The actors and the dialogue are so bad, too. It's just...
To say the least.
Almost unwatchable.
Absolutely. And I mean, I don't want to think about Ouija anymore. So, moving on to number 4 for me, The Legend of Hercules. Kellen Lutz can't act his way out of a paper bag to save his life. He should not be in movies. He is also like Jai Courtney in this respect. The brother character in this movie is a simpering wimp who does nothing really of any consequence, and when he attempts to, it's comedically bad. The B-movie actor Scott Adkins gets to show up, and basically all he does is impersonate Gerard Butler. The plot is basically 300 by way of Gladiator, because Hercules apparently was a gladiator who led a revolt against his evil kingly father. Oh, wait, no, that didn't happen. The only one of the famous 12 labors that shows up in this movie is the killing of the lion, and that is at the very beginning. His romance subplot is so awful. I don't buy their chemistry at all. The CGI in this movie is atrocious. I mean, whether it's him ripping out these rocks from a wall that he's chained to and using them as whips, or what I like to call lightning ex machina, where his Zeus dad calls down lightning for him to create a whip made out of lightning to defeat his dad. This movie looks like it was put together by a high school drama department. This does not look like it was put together by a professional filmmaker, although it's amazing to see how far director Rennie Harlan has fallen, because, I mean, he goes from making Die Hard 2 to this.
But Die Hard 2 wasn't good either.
Well, it wasn't nearly as bad as this, though.
That's true.
This movie is awful. My number 4 movie of the year, worst of the year.
I don't even know where we are anymore. I think I said
Number
my
4.
number.
Now you had number 5, and so now you're number 4.
Yeah, but my number 4 is also The Legend of Hercules.
Oh, even better.
It feels bad to be talking about it, but then I go down to the next one, and we've already talked about it too. So,
Well,
I think I skipped my number 6 actually, so I'll go back to that. The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh.
I hate The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's probably in the bottom 5 superhero movies I've ever seen. And I mean, that list includes the Green Hornet and Superman 4, so... It comes down a lot to the motivation-challenged villains, a messy story, terrible action, awful characters, and the CG. How do you spend what I assume is like $150 million, and the CGI comes out that bad?
It's baffling, to say the least.
And the movie is so stupid and cringeworthy. I mean, that last scene with the web that becomes a hand, and oh. And then it runs for 142 minutes.
Way too long. And Paul Giamatti, why are you here? I mean, he shows up for a 2-minute cameo in the cold open, and then he shows up for another 2-minute cameo at the end.
And they used him in so much of the advertising, too.
To say the least. And then, it's like, Spider-Man returns to being Spider-Man way too quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Everything about it is bad.
Yep. Everything is not awesome with that movie. Okay, so we head to my top 3, and I like to call this the Unholy Trinity, because there's 3 of them, and they're all religious films. Number 1, or first up, number 3 on the list, is the most easily boring film I saw all year, Left Behind. This is a movie that's supposed to be about the rapture, but in reality it's basically just an airplane movie with the rapture as a framing device. You have the protagonist, who is a pilot, and he's having marital problems because his wife is all into Jesus and he's kind of not, and he's contemplating having an affair with this flirty stewardess who's a walking cliche. But as I said, his wife is this really deep into Christianity, which is fine, but it's the annoying variety in this film. And so, of course, she gets raptured along with Cage's young son, because the kids all get raptured. But meanwhile, Cage is flying a plane from New York to London, and we get stuck with a plane load of stereotypes. We get the flirty stewardess, we get a drug addict, we get an angry dwarf character, a sleazy businessman, and, of course, because this is post 9/11, a Muslim who is suspected of being evil.
Gee, I've never seen any of those characters before.
No kidding. We get the passengers put in danger because the plane starts getting low on fuel and they collide with another plane, so he's running on one engine and it forces them to make an emergency landing, but all the runways and all the airports are clogged, so you got to find a runway landing strip, but there are none, so you got to make a crash landing, but wait, that'll destroy everybody. It's clear that Nicolas Cage is absolutely bored playing this part in the lead. as the pilot. He only took it because of the tax problems that he's been having in real life. I mean, if you couldn't tell who was the Christians besides the fact that they were raptured, they'll show stuff like their cross necklaces, or they'll show a day planner that's got Bible study upcoming. It's like, thank you for being obvious and heavy-handed with that. The cinematography is terrible. There's awful CGI when you pan outside of the plane to see the CGI planes. It looks hideous. And the direction from Vic Armstrong is utterly awful. I mean, he's a stuntman, actually, by training. He had previously only directed one film. It was a Dolph Lundgren action film from 1993.
And we all know how good those were.
Yeah, and so he's getting a wide-released theatrical movie that's already a remake of a Kirk Cameron movie that was terrible in its own right. So this remake is completely unnecessary. I was so bored watching it. This is number 3, Left Behind.
My number 3 is one you mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, Ouija. It's pitiful. It's another one that thinks loud noises are scary. They're not. And then you mix in horrible, grating characters you won't care about at all. Dialogue that'll make you want to cover your ears. You just laugh at the whole lack of quality. Sometimes I wondered how some of those actors got employed. The highlight for me was the credits. And not just because the movie was ending, but because the credits were professionally done. The rest of the movie was not.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Okay, so my number 2 is the next one in this unholy trinity. Easily the most offensive thing I saw all year. God's Not Dead. This movie features a main plot involving a squeaky clean freshman kid in college who is forced to debate his so-called atheist philosophy professor over the existence of the Christian God. Now, the arguments made in these classroom scenes are bad on both sides, and keeping in mind that all 3 of them take place in the first week of class, not stretched over the entire semester, but in 3 classes the first week, which would never happen. Kevin Sorbo plays the angry professor, and he's terrible. The kid is bland and generic. The professor is physically abusive towards the kid. Like, that he actually confronts him outside of the classroom, grabs him, spins him around, and yells at him. He's verbally abusive to his girlfriend as well, who, of course, is a Christian and former student of his, because, you know, them atheists, they're all immoral, evil people. Of course, the kid wins the debate by getting the professor to admit he hates something he doesn't believe exists, which, of course, means he's not actually an atheist, although not that the film cares to understand that distinction. But then it decides to get into a bunch of weird subplots. In one subplot, we have a stereotypical vegan, liberal, atheist blogger woman who does interviews by ambushing a bunch of conservative people in the media. She ambushes a couple of the fake rednecks from Duck Dynasty, of all things. But then she gets cancer. And so she's sad. She tells her narcissistic, abusive, jerk lawyer boyfriend, who's played by Dean Cain, speaking of Superman, and he literally brushes her off by saying, "Couldn't this have waited until tomorrow?" I kid you not. And then we get another subplot, which, again, features Muslims, where you have the daughter of the family who is a closeted Christian who listens to sermons by Franklin Graham on her iPod and reads her Bible in secret. And then her dad finds out, beats her up, and tosses her out of the house. But it's all okay because at the end she ends up happy because she's at a Christian rock concert, despite the fact that, you know, she's homeless now. And then the final subplot involves a preacher who feels like he's not doing well enough in his work, but he's meeting with a missionary friend of his to go to Disney World. Unfortunately, their car won't start, so it's all, hijinks. And the missionary is, unfortunately, what's known as a magic Negro stereotype, where he spouts all this wonderful wisdom that the white people should know, but he doesn't. And he's supposed to be there to be this happy, supportive type of character. But really, these two characters exist only to be around when one of our atheist characters gets hit by a car at the end of the movie, which then pans up to a halo shot from overhead while they sit there and try to convert him to Christianity as he is dying on the street. And this is all played contrasting between a Christian rock concert featuring the artist The Newsboys. And then, to top it all off, the very last scene features the fake rednecks of Duck Dynasty showing up on the big screen to extol the kid for how good he did at standing up to this evil atheist professor, and then inviting the audience to text the words "God's not dead" to all the contacts on their phone via text message. This movie exists to be a massive straw man that stereotypes Christians, atheists, Muslims, communists, Chinese people, liberals, conservatives, and every group under the sun. And yet it still panders to the whiny, self-indulgent persecution complex that these filmmakers and their ilk possess. It is utterly atrocious, and we're going to get a sequel.
What?
We're getting a spiritual sequel to this movie this year called Do You Believe? And I want to... And this movie... So God's Not Dead made $62 million off of a $2 million budget. It is so awful that I was raging for 20 minutes after leaving the theater. Like, I missed the first 20 minutes of the Grand Budapest Hotel because I was so irritated after coming out of this movie because I saw them on the same night. This movie is terrible, does not deserve anyone's attention. Please do not go see this sequel because it doesn't need more money. God's Not Dead is my number 2. Let's move on.
My number 2 is another inspirational sports movie that isn't at all inspiring, and actually this one contains at least an hour of non-sports content. When the Game Stands Tall. It's a movie about a football team that wins 151 straight games, a high school football team, loses a few, and then basically thinks the world is ending. I mean, I can't even begin to describe how inconsequential it seems in the grand scheme of things. Because, I mean, it's high school football for one. For two, they lose a few games and it's so awful. And then the film gives us a whole bunch of off-the-field drama. Like, the coach smokes a single cigarette and basically almost dies of heart disease. That's what happens in the movie. It's the best anti-smoking ad ever. Some of the players have their own familial issues, many of which get dropped at will. I mean, there's one player at the beginning of the film who we see has so much trouble at home, and then he disappears until the last game that's shown in the movie. It doesn't make any sense to me why this story is being told. Now, I gather that high school football is more important in America than it is here. But, yes. Come on.
And that doesn't even begin to touch the heavy-handed preachiness of this movie, that when it actually has characters raise questions, it decides to sidestep them because, we can't have that in this movie. So, yeah, When the Game Stands Tall is not a good movie. And it has okay football sequences, but that's about it. The inspirational part...
sequences are okay.
Yeah, the inspirational part is absolutely terrible. And, again, if you want to watch an inspirational football movie, go watch Remember the Titans.
So, what is your worst movie of 2014?
This is a movie that you didn't see, and it's a movie that I wish I hadn't seen. My number 1 worst film of 2014 is Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas. Now, this film starts out with Kirk Cameron smugly sitting in front of a fireplace with a cup of cocoa. He then proceeds to give a 3 to 4 minute lecture on just how much he loves Christmas. Now keep in mind, this is not actually part of the film. This has nothing to do with the narrative of the film. It's simply Kirk Cameron giving us a lecture, talking directly to the camera. Then it features opening credits that are bland flash animation that look like it was created 10 years ago. Then when you actually get into the film, the production values look like a low-budget television show, complete with bland sets and awful cinematography. The actual plot of the film is Kirk Cameron basically playing himself, and his character's brother-in-law, whose name is Christian, in case we didn't remember that, this is a Christian film, sitting in an SUV, and Kirk Cameron is trying to convince his brother-in-law that all the actual non-Christian origins of most things associated with Christmas are actually Christian in origin after all. This film also features the only black character in it who, for some reason, speaks in jive and feels and sounds basically like how I imagine Kirk Cameron thinks black people sound. That character also has a line where he compares losing Wacky Shirt Friday at work to Martin Luther King's March on Washington, as though those are at all similar. The characters are... the film gets some of its history wrong, period. There's a weird scene where two of the characters duck their mouths behind these coffee cups, and then you get terrible ADR overdubbing that's nothing but them spouting every single idiotic conspiracy theory under the sun, whether it's war on Christmas or what have you, or fluoride in the drinking water, or chemtrails. For some reason, it portrays the actual historical Santa Claus as this tough guy historical bishop who beats up on a dissenting bishop at the Council of Nicaea and then uses that as a metaphor for standing against religious dissent today. I didn't know Santa was such a fighter, apparently. You talked about how Annie is materialistic. This movie ironically and gleefully defends materialism while at the same time spouting profundities about a guy who I'm pretty sure was not exactly fond of materialism, if I remember my Bible correctly. Oh yeah! What was that whole thing about rich guys and eyes of needles and camels? And then to top it all off, the film concludes with a protracted and utterly goofy hip-hop breakdance party, because that happens at all Christian Christmas parties.
It's happened at every one I've been to.
And then, so the film is 80 minutes long, but if you take out the 4-minute lecture at the beginning, the credits, the breakdance party, and the 10 minutes of closing credits, this film is actually an hour long.
Wow.
And that's it. And yet this got released to theaters. Somehow. This movie is so terrible that it has officially become the worst rated film of all time on the Internet Movie Database, IMDb. Now, admittedly, the IMDb database isn't the be-all, end-all, but it's rather amusing that that happened, especially because after it got reviewed as 0% on Rotten Tomatoes and got worst movie of all time on IMDb, Kirk Cameron reached out to his followers and said, go upvote this movie so that the evil atheists aren't ruining it for us. Not that the evil atheists were actually ruining it. This is just a terrible movie. So I cannot believe this film even exists, much less that it got released to theaters. So Kirk Cameron needs to stop making movies. He never needs to make another one again. Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas is my number one worst film of 2014 by a mile. What is your number one, Mr. Parkinson?
Based, I suppose, on the internet meme of the same name, That Awkward Moment is my worst film of 2014. It's only actually awkward because if someone asks you what you were doing during its 90 minutes, you kind of have to tell them you were watching it. I would rather lie about what I was doing. Basically lie about anything. I mean, like, killing people is not as bad as the movie, obviously. But as a way to try to get people's suspicions off you, it might be something hyperbolic to say. It's a shallow, misogynistic, poorly written, poorly acted, and at the end it tries to turn it all around by being a generic romantic comedy. I mean, it gives us these three people, Zac Efron, Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan. I guess Jordan's character isn't actually that bad, but the other two, they act horribly toward potential romantic partners for weeks, and then at the end of the movie, it tries to turn it around and make us root for them. Now, this would all be almost okay if the movie was funny. But this is... I didn't laugh a single time during this movie. Interestingly enough, I got to see it at a critic screening, which wasn't like a normal press screening. You've got a whole bunch of people there. The theaters generally wind up full. This was a critic screening where there were 9 of us there. There was not a single laughter for the entirety of this movie from anyone.
this is not a bad movie, or not as bad as I think you make it out. But I mean, it's bad certainly because it's unfunny. It feels like a 1990s sitcom, but I don't know. I didn't hate it with the same level of vitriol that some of my other films, but fair enough.
There's nothing I hated more, and I mean, to be fair, I did skip a whole bunch of bad movies. There were 5 or 6 on your list that I didn't see just because I figured they'd be bad.
You were lucky.
But yeah, that awkward moment takes the cake for me. And I guess that brings us to the conclusion of the 4th episode of Mad at the Movies. If you want, you can follow Gerald on Twitter at FilmFlashNC and on his website at filmflashnc.blogspot.com. I'm also on the Twitter at MurderTweet and on the web at boxofficeboredom.com. Comments, criticisms, praise, and suggestions are all welcome as long as you're nice about it. We're still trying to finalize exactly what we're going to be discussing next week. Canada's kind of weird when it comes to some film releases. There are 3 wide releases in America next week: Project Almanac, Black or White, and The Loft. And there's a good chance that only one of those is coming out here. In substitution for those, we might be discussing A Most Violent Year, 2 Days, One Night, or maybe we'll get lucky and they'll all come out here. We're also going to be giving you a look back to the month of January, as well as a preview of what's to come in February. Until next time, this is Matt at the Movies signing off.
Take care, Internet.